Now, now I am going to report about the Myanmar's political profile. The objective of this report is to assess the political profile, issues, and developments in Myanmar, particularly the impact of the democratic transition on the country's persistent ethnic conflicts. The argument of this article is that democratization does not in itself provide a viable solution to the war-torn country, because without a political process that involves all ethnic groups aiming to target core problems in the constitution and to secure genuine political representation and determination for Myanmar's minority populations, there is a little hope for lasting peace. The Republic of Union of Myanmar, known as Burma prior to 1989, when the ruling military junta changed its name from Burma to Myanmar. It is a country in Southeast Asia with with an area of 676,558 square kilometers, making it almost twice the size of Germany or slightly smaller than the US state of Texas. Myanmar shares borders with Thailand, Laos, China, India, and Bangladesh, and has a coastline on the Andaman Sea and the Bay of Bengal. That is why it is one of the most diverse ethnic country in Southeast Asia, with 135 officially recognized ethnic groups. And these are the major ethnic groups in Myanmar. Myanmar officially recognizes 135 ethnic groups, but Rohingya have been rendered stateless and stripped of their citizenship. Ethnic groups are Bamar, Shan, Karen, Rakhine, Rohingya, Kachin, Chin, Karenni, Mon, Wa, Kokang Chinese, and Kokang Chinese. And since its independence in 1948, the multi-ethnic society has seen a high number of armed conflicts between the central government and a rich tapestry of different insurgent groups driven by nationalists, ideological, or economic motives. Ethnic conflicts contributed to the rise and persistence of a military dominance in the country. This is the chart from the World Bank. The population of Myanmar in according to World Bank is 55,123,814, with a total area of 676,578 square kilometers, with a GDP of per capita sa 2015 1161. Ethnic groups are Burman, which is 68%, Shan 9%, Karen 7%, Rakhine 4%, Chinese 3%, Indian 2%, Mon 2%, and other 5%. Religious groups are Buddhist 87.9%, Christians 66.2%, Muslims 4.3%, others or none 1.6%. Year of full national sovereignty, it was when 1948 current constitution enacted. 2008, official language Burmese, and the democracy score according to the PTI 2016 is 3.0, rate that range from 1 to 10. The regime type is autocracy. Autocracy ilahang ano regime type, which is the absolute power of the head of the state. Form of government, republic, head of the state, Hitien Kiao since 2016, pero ang ilang current head of the state na karon is si Owen Myint sa, which was elected siya on 2018, and siya ang the head of the state. System of government, presidential, cabinet type, single party, plus military reserved cabinet post. And this chart shows the GDP of Myanmar in 2019, which is 2.888. This data is from World Bank, and from the 1961 to 2019, dako kay siya og kuan kaning downfall pag abot na sa 2019. From the early 20s dako siya og peak niya, which is approximately of 14%. 14%, tapos ni ubos na dayon siya og 2% pag abot sa 2019. And this is the literacy rate of the youth, people age of 15 to 24 from the year 1983 to 2016. And this is from the World Bank gihapon. And from 84% sa 1983 to early 20s, 94.586 sa 20s. So dako gihapon siya, parehas gihapon sa GDP nila sa 20s. And pag abot na dayon sa 2016, niubos gihapon siya. Ni parehas na siya sa 1983. 1983 nga data, which is 84.758 ang ilang literacy rate. And the political culture of Myanmar is that ang ilahang military support is weak. However, does not necessarily mean strong support for democracy. In indirect measures such as the frequency of demonstrations and public mass protests, political performance data, and election results in which opposition parties contested indicate that large parts of the population appear to not support the military's claim to political leadership. Pero not necessarily mean nga strong support ilang para sa democracy. And public knowledge and awareness for government institutions and processes are poor. As documented in the first nationwide survey of Myanmar, conducted by the Asia Foundation among more than 3,000 respondents across all 14 states and regions in 2014, public knowledge and awareness of government institutions are very poor. And people express a strong preference for abstract democracy, but possess a limited understanding of the principles and practices that underpin a democratic system. And the government branches of Myanmar, main powers, the executive, the head of the state. The president appoints the cabinet, nominates judges, also the commander-in-chief. and is in charge of the executory tasks of the government. Election process. President is elected by the parliament from among three houses, three vice presidents of the different parliamentary houses. Election cycle, 5 years. Judicial, Supreme Court, highest court of the land. The Chief Justice and judges are nominated by the President with the approval of the Paitulatiao. Paitulatiao is the House of the Representatives. And the legislative branch is in charge of creating legislature and confirms the President's nomination. Election process, members of the House of the Nationalities, House of Nationalities, Am, Amio, Amiotao, which is the House of the Nationalists, are elected on basis of township and population. Members of the House of Representatives are directly elected equally from regions and states. Also 5 years cycle, same as the president. And this is the government structure of Myanmar. And this is the organizations and institutions of Myanmar, which is headed by the chief minister that is appointed by the president, the head of the state. Muna sila ang mga institutions, mga organizations. I just hope maklaro. Ano sila? And this is the political leaders or the notable leaders in Myanmar. Myanmar's new president Wu Yin-myint was elected as the 10th president of Myanmar by the Pyeongsu Yetao, a combined meeting of the two houses of the national legislature on 26 March 2018 with 403 out of 636 lawmakers voting for him. And in 1985, he became a High Court advocate. Is also the member of Central Executive Committee of NDL. NDL is the National League for Democracy in Myanmar. Aung San Suu Kyi is a Burmese politician, diplomat, author, and a 1991 Nobel Peace Prize laureate. The first and incumbent state councillor of Myanmar. She is also the leader of the National League for Democracy and played a vital role in state's transition from military junta to partial democracy. Now, this is the system's capabilities in Myanmar. The government rarely announces its goals and it lacks the strategic capacity to organize its policymaking. That is why murag siya failure ang policymaking sa Myanmar, and enlisting of national and international advisors for certain policies, but it is not clear if they follow that advice. Mura ra sila pa char lang nga kuhag advisors pero dili sure kung gina-follow ba to nila nga mga individuals. And in terms of democratization, the government does not follow a clear path. There is no clear strategy for full democratization. Executive composition includes military. That is why prioritization and policy making is extremely difficult. Issues and challenges in Myanmar. HIV rate is also high in Myanmar, which is approximately of 1% to 2%, which requires commitment in managing and reducing. It's also the poverty rates are high, and international visitors with less effect in policy making. This is the kaning officials spend more more time than significant amount of making policies and implementations. Murag ang mga international visitors kay murag naglaraw-laraw ra sa Myanmar, dili kayo matagaag kuan o pagtagad ang mga issues nga ilagi kaatubang. Refugees and IDPs. This is because of the armed conflict that may drive displacement through the following mechanism, such as people smuggling and trafficking, armed groups conflict, pros kaning mga violence, destruction of civilian property, including sources of livelihood and so on. Tapos kuan gihapon ilahang climate change and natural disasters. Informal economy and corruption. Kuan gyapon sa ila, present gyapon sa ila. And ethnic conflict, especially sa Rohingya crisis. The Rohingya crisis are the Muslims minority. In particular, they continue to face discriminations and violations of human rights. And they are denied of their citizenship as is for it is the core reason nganong na kuan sila na abuse sila og maayo sa ilahang kuan katungod. It is apil naghapon gi-restrict sab sila sa healthcare, livelihood, shelter, education, and forced labor. Maong kuan gid ilahang crisis sa Muslims. And also human rights challenges. Myanmar was seen as one of the worst countries in the world in terms of human rights. Severe and large-scale violations of civil, political, and social rights were documented in numerous reports from international and local organizations. This chart shows the displacement of Myanmar population over time. From asylum seekers in 2015 to Cyclone Nargis in 2008 that approximately 700,000 ang naapektuhan, and conflict in Kachin and Northern Shan sa 2011 with over 800,000 ang affected. Tapos intercommunal violence in Rakhine with over 800,000 ay kuandraday ang conflict in Kachin 700,000. 700,000 kapin tapos 800,000 ang sa intercommunal violence in Rakhine tapos conflict in Kongang Kongang floods and landslide in Chin and Rakhine with over 900,000 pa people ang naapektuhan. Now this image shows the destroyed Rohingya village and kaning sa purple nga side mao ni na ang naapektuhan sa katong ano nila conflict. This is from the BBC News and klaro kayo nga gabi gud og naapektuhan sa Rohingya nga Muslims kay dako kayo ni siya nga area diri tapos ang sa intact Rakhine nga village kay wala kayo'y murag purple nga kuan color diri ra sa kuan Rohingya village kay puros na sila diri kasagaran Muslims. And the change and development in Myanmar. There is a huge consensus within the establishment that political and economic reforms are necessary in order to catch up with the neighboring countries. Even the commander of armed forces is officially supporting the overall reform process. While there is a general consensus on political reforms, the extent and speed of reforms is widely contested. Political leaders' attempts to depolarize divisions in society and forge a consensus, there are two conflict lines which experienced different developments during the last few years. And there is also a new political parties because of the failure of the NL NLD NLD party, which is the National League of Democracy headed by Aung San Suu Kyi because of the Rohingya crisis. And this is the ano kaning new party list sa Myanmar for the upcoming 2020 election, which is Kachin State Party, Karen National Democratic Party, Mon Party, Kaya State Democratic Party. Muna sila ang mga new political formations in Myanmar. And if we try to look into bigger perspective sa government sa Myanmar and Philippines, overall dako gid ka sila og differences. Kung atong tan-awon sa status index ang sa Myanmar 3.28 tapos sa Philippines is 6.9. So dako gid kay sila og differences. And sa political transformation sa Philippines 5.75 tapos sa Myanmar 3.30. So gamay gid kaayo sila. Maong murag failure ang ilahang pag handle sa ilahang kuan government. Tapos governance index 3.59. Tapos sa Philippines 4.89. Tapos ang economic transformation sa Philippines 6.43. Tapos sa Myanmar 3.25. So to conclude, Myanmar needed to kuan gyud kaning mo step up sa ilahang political status and mao to siya. Thank you.